talk a lot about the need to transition from high consumption of animal protein to higher consumption of non-animal protein. I think that transition is the most important step we need to make in creating a more sustainable food system. Hugely important, and it's an area where I do a lot of work. The reason why, and people will debate this, and a lot of people say there's sustainable meat, but the fundamental reason why is because animals are really inefficient at converting feed into food. So it will take about 25 calories of feed to produce 1 calorie of meat. It varies across different species, but generally that's the case. And if you can produce those same meat in a lab using a sort of a cellular growth medium, then about 2 calories of medium will produce about 1 calorie of meat. So far more efficient, and we can produce meat far more efficiently and without all the killing and cruelty associated with meat. So that seems like a win-win for the food system if we can grow animal cells and animal meat in a laboratory or a fermenter type equipment, because you'll just have meat without the cruelty and far more efficiency, and that will free up huge amounts of agricultural land. But it'd be a generally huge positive for the food industry, and I think that's fine in theory, but in practicality it comes up across a number of problems. Firstly, it's just animal cells just don't want to grow in a fermenter. It's very difficult to make them do that. There's lots of stuff you have to do. It's very costly, and to create the growth medium to grow these cells is enormously expensive. I think currently the cheapest people can get to is about £170 to produce 1 kilo of plant-based, not plant-based, but of animal meat cells in a fermenter, and that's without any sort of idea of profit and without any idea of having to build the infrastructure and build the fermenters. To scale up mammalian cell production is incredibly difficult. Biopharma haven't managed to do it in anything like the scale we'll need. And to actually, even the minimum sort of investments in infrastructure will cost trillions just to create sort of 10% of the global meat consumption. So it seems a very, very long way off and requiring a huge amount of investment. And I genuinely think it will only ever really impact a small number of people in a small number of days. It won't create a huge dietary transition just because of the difficulty and the cost of producing that sort of meat at scale. And also, I'd say, what are we producing it for? Are we producing it because of the nutrition it will provide? Are we producing animal cells because of the flavor it will give things? Are we producing it because of some sort of structure? Because a lot of the current products are just kind of cellular meat sludge. They're not formed into fibers. We're a long way off from making a sort of steak, growing a steak in the lab in some way. So yeah, I really worry, and I think that there's a lot of investment going into it. I would much rather we spend more time looking at sort of converting plant protein into delicious, convenient food that people really enjoy, whether that's sort of meat replicas made out of different types of plant protein, or sort of new types of dishes, new types of protein, new types of sort of structured and flavored proteins which are delicious and compelling for consumers. Not enough time and effort and resource going into that because it's perhaps not as glamorous as giant fermenters growing meat in the lab, but it is, I think, far more important. A fundamental truth about the food system is that whatever happens within the next 25, 30, 40, 50, probably 100 years, the vast majority of our food will be grown by farmers in fields. And it's just a case of making that growing more efficient and finding really efficient ways of converting the stuff that's grown in the field into delicious food that people want to enjoy. Growing cellular meat might have a small part in that, but I think that there's a whole load of different technologies which require a lot more investment and work, which could do that in a far more efficient and far more cost-effective way, which will help a far greater number of people.